you give a speech. It will probably go down as one of the most legendary speeches of any New York mayor to give. I think it was your first appearance after October 7th, saying that we are not all right. Was that a speech that was prepared going into it, or that just came from the heart in the moment?
It wasn't prepared. I was very clear. Hamas needed to be destroyed, and every hostage should return home.
What Jewish New Yorkers seek more than anything is just peace of mind. That their kid could walk to school with a yarmulke on their head and they don't have to worry.
I never thought we would be back here. Who would have thought we would be back to the days where people would be marching in the streets, celebrating the death of innocent people?
Many of us have seen pictures and videos of you going to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's resting site in Queens. What draws you to that place?
Spirituality is spirituality. All of the methods we use are just the vehicles.
It's our hope that you are the next mayor. But if that is not the case, and Mr. Mamdani is, would you go as far as to say that maybe some Jews should think about leaving New York? This obviously isn't the typical episode of Meaningful People, right? Usually it's a rabbi, someone Jewish, religious. And here I sat down with the mayor of New York, someone who isn't Jewish, but someone who has been such an unequivocal voice for the Jewish people. Someone who has stood up for us time and time again. And now an election is coming up. So I wanted to sit down with Mayor Adams and hear from him what can be done for the Jewish people, what he thinks about the issues that are near and dear to our heart. You'll hear that in this episode. I want to thank the mayor and his staff for welcoming us into Gracie Mansion. It was such a beautiful experience. Of course, I want to give a big thank you to our Plus members that make episodes like this possible to be free for all of you. If you want to become a Plus member today, head to mmplus.org for extra exclusive bonus content and a brand new dedicated app for you. Become a Meaningful Minute Plus member right now at mmplus.org. This episode is sponsored by PZ Deals. You know, as I was pulling up the Gracie Mansion, I get out of my car and I have a microphone, I have a mixer, and it was like a lot of stuff we had to bring. You know, I had Matti Berkowitz also coming to film, but he had some stuff, I had some stuff. Anyways, to get there, I'm like, I really needed a bag. And I'm like, you know what? Never again am I showing up to a shoot like this. I went on PZ Deals app right then, right there. And I saw a beautiful suitcase that I can carry all my stuff. The best thing was that it was $250, but on PZ Deals app, it was $75. Boom, ordered, and I already have it at my house. It's just a couple days later. How awesome is that? PZ Deals app, never pay full price again. Download it right now. The savings never ends when you have the PZ Deals app. Now, enjoy this episode. It's an honor for you to join me here.
Thank you.
Especially at this time. A lot going on in the world. I want to have a conversation with you about stuff that are near and dear to my audience, the Jewish people, the Orthodox people, and we're very thankful and grateful for the voice you've been for us. And we're going to talk about that obviously post October 7th, but even pre October 7th. You've been such a friend to the Jewish people, and we really appreciate that. But for starters, you know, just being in Gracie Mansion is my first time here.
Okay.
And it's news to me. I heard that the mayor actually, you know, lives here. so when you became mayor, it's sort of like, it's probably, what's that feeling like? It's probably very exciting, but it's also like, okay, now I got to move.
Right. And they say that the two of the most stressful things you can do is one, starting a new job, and two, moving.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. It is extremely overwhelming. And particularly, I love, you know, living in Brooklyn.
Right.
I have a home in Brooklyn on Lafayette Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And it was an adjustment. Here on the first quarter is sort of the public space. And then upstairs is the living quarter.
Yeah.
Quarters for the mayor. And it's a beautiful place, Gracie Mansion. Now I understand why they chose it as a place for the mayor's home. It's right on the water. Very relaxing. You can sit outside at the end of a long day and just enjoy yourself. Yeah. And there's a lot of history in this building when you think about how many mayors have lived here and how many mayors have convened meetings here to deal with, you know, issues, crisis after crisis. I remember speaking with some of the mayors, Mayor de Blasio, Mayor Bloomberg, and others, and some of their staffs on how they come together during the most difficult times, and this was a good place to meet.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think are some things that people don't know enough about who you are? You know, forget the mayor title for a second, but Eric Adams. You know, sometimes you can get lost behind the seal and the position. But what do you want people out there to know about you?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question because anytime someone's in public eye, you only get the public story.
Yeah.
You know, people would look and say, okay, you're mayor, you were the first person of color to be borough president, state senator, captain of the police department. You know, that's my glory.
Yeah.
That's not my story. And I think my story is a story of resiliency. It's a story of struggle. It's a story of imperfection, of not being perfect in everything that I do. And I think it is the everyday New York story. Growing up, struggling as a child, particularly because of my undiagnosed learning disability. I didn't learn I was dyslexic until I got into college. It was a difficult time watching mom raise my 5 siblings and myself and what she went through, but learning to watch her and understand what resiliency is and learning never to give up. Being socially awkward, I am an introvert to the biggest sense. And one would say, how could you be an introvert and be the mayor? Because one quality I have is I look at what is the job description? What are you supposed to do to fulfill the job obligation? And I just do them. I go on automatic pilot. I just make it happen. So that helps me with the fact that I'm an introvert. But I think that my favorite days is like staying home, watching reruns of Twilight Zone in my pajamas, man. I'm in heaven, you know?
Yeah.
Music, I love all sorts of music. I exercise to Beethoven and Bach sometimes. I love rap. I love classical. But I think that I am more of a spiritual person than a politician. I have a I'm deeply rooted in my faith, and I respect all faith because I think that is where we get our calling from, and that is where we get our motivation and our drive from.
Is that something you grew up with, that spiritual side of you? Is that something you saw in your home growing up?
Yes, my mother was very spiritual. And I'm a strong believer there's no way we would have been able to really get through the challenges if it wasn't for our faith and if there was not a higher being in a higher order. Because there were some difficult times. And my story, as I like to say, is a New Yorker story. New Yorkers can all tell you the difficult and challenging times. But out of those times, our faith in God got us through them. And I've learned to, as I say, turn on my GPS, my God positioning satellite, and let God guide my life and my responses to the challenges that I'm facing.
Right. Well, that's special, for someone like me and my background. Just the best thing we could wish for is to have a leader, someone who's in a position of leadership that does believe in God, and whatever that looks like, to understand that there is a higher power and things aren't just random, And
everything we do, I do it with that sense of religious faith. So if I'm going to tackle homelessness, I'm not going to do it just based on numbers. I'm going to do it based on what is a godly way of doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to even deal with violence and the victims of violence, what is a godly way of doing it? What is a spiritual way of doing it? And so everything I do is surrounded by that.
On a personal level, that must have been really difficult, though. I mean, being an introvert, and I myself, I claim myself to be as an introvert. So doing these interviews and doing all that stuff is also out of the comfort zone. But becoming mayor, every night there's something else you got to be at, and can't even imagine what that schedule looks like. Before you came in here, it's like 4 minutes out, 30 seconds out. It's like, that's a lot of pressure, But being an introvert, how do you manage that?
Yeah, and that's great. You said something that was very interesting. You said being out of your comfort zone, because that's what introverts I find is that how do you find your way out of your comfort zone? And I am a driven person, and so I know that I have to be out of my comfort zone in order to accomplish the next level. There's a saying for those who exercise, no pain, no gain. Mm-hmm. And so I live with that understanding that painful moments are gainful moments. You're growing you are really coming out of your cocoon, and you're allowing yourself to be what is the next evolution of who you are. And you just stay focused on just carrying the task.
Yeah.
And it gets challenging sometimes, but I'm so driven about helping New Yorkers. That is so important to me. How do we help New Yorkers? I think as a child, the city betrayed me, and it betrayed my family. And so many New Yorkers have been betrayed for so long. Like, you just look at my sister. My sister, she lost her whole childhood because she had to raise her 5 siblings, because mom had to do 3 jobs. And because mom was doing 3 jobs, my sister had to spend her childhood as being the mother of the family. And so when you betray families, you're betraying, more than just the parents. You're betraying the children, you're betraying the community. And I was really focused on stopping that betrayal. That's why that's what drives us.
What does that betrayal exactly look like, though? Meaning, if you could just make it something tangible.
Yeah, and that's a great question. It looks like a child going through the school system, not knowing he's dyslexic.
Right.
Walking into a school every day and seeing a dumb student written on the back of your chair, being mocked, being bullied. That messes with your social development.
Yeah.
I resented going to school. Or when mother needed assistance to feed the family, she would go to social services. She would never go on a welfare, anything like that, but she would go and try to get support. And the food that we were being fed, that food was unhealthy, And so you can only imagine, if you have no other alternative, you have to go to government to feed your family, and you're being fed unhealthy food. The cheese that we were given was filled with salt that led to her high blood pressure. Powdered milk, powdered eggs, canned meat led to, her saturation of fat, diabetes. So that was a betrayal. And then the public safety, not having an alternative to after-school programs. That led to the betrayal of my siblings and I of not developing our full personhood. So every area you looked at, we had to be bused to school. From South Jamaica, Queens, we had to be bused to Bayside because the schools in our area didn't have the same level of support.
Right.
Those are these betrayals that we don't realize happen every day in government.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other night I was watching this new documentary on Netflix. It's called Fit for TV, I think. It's about The Biggest Loser, right? That TV show they had.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was like a fascinating 3-part series on it. And they're getting sued and a whole disaster because those trainers were not really, doing right by them. It was very unhealthy also. But there's a stat at the end that I was just shocked. It said when The Biggest Loser started, I think there was 12 seasons, 32% of Americans were obese. And by the end, 45%. 45% of Americans are considered obese.
Wow.
That is astonishing number.
It really is. It really is. Particularly what I learned from my journey, because I was dealing with vision loss, nerve damage, I had an ulcer, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I had the American package, I like to say.
Apparently the American package, really.
And I woke up one morning, couldn't see the alarm clock because my pressure in my eyes prevented me from seeing. It was cloudy. I thought it was sleep in my eyes. But later it turned out, when I went to the doctor, it turned out that I had advanced stage of diabetes, high A1C level, which is an indicator of diabetes. And I met a doctor that basically told me to go in the opposite direction of what my primary care doctor told me. My primary care doctor basically said you have to live with diabetes, insulin, metformin, and other medicine. And the doctor that I met, Dr. Esselton from the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, he told me it was about food. When I flew down to see him, he shared with me, change your diet. I did. And within 3 weeks, my vision returned.
Really?
3 months, my nerve damage went away. My ulcer went away. My blood pressure normalized. And so we were taught that our ailments, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, all of that is hereditary, but it has never been your DNA. It was always your dinner.
Yeah.
We share the same dinner. And so when you see people being obese, it's more than just they're overweight, they're unable to enjoy the quality of life. No, it is feeding the healthcare crisis. And really, it's not sustainable, the healthcare crisis that we're facing. We have we don't have a healthcare system, we have a sick care system. Wait till you get sick, then we pump you up with medicine to deal with your sickness. Instead of what we're doing in the city, we're doing something called lifestyle medicine in our health and hospitals. It is teaching people how to change their lifestyles to live a healthier life. And it's very impressive what we're doing.
It's more preventative. It's
yes.
Like, let's not get people get there.
Right.
Other countries don't seem to like have the same struggle. It's interesting. Like America has this rate, but I don't know, other countries doesn't. But, coming from my community, talking about healthy food is not exactly. You've seen what goes on, and I'm sure.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that we spend more money per capita.
Really?
On health than other agencies, other countries, and it's not helping. So something is wrong.
Yeah.
The model is broken, and we have to fix it.
100%. 100%. We'll be right back to this episode in just a second with Mayor Adams. First, a quick word from my friends at Kol Al Chabad. Yes, the Pushka app. Because giving tzedakah never became so simple, so easy, and so fulfilling. The Pushka app is the place to go right now. Go to pushka.cc/meaningful. Download the app on your phone and give tzedakah. Give tzedakah before a big date. Give tzedakah before a big meeting. Give tzedakah maybe before you're going to play a sports game. Maybe before you're going to daven. Whatever it is, tzedakah is such an important part of our lives. And Kol Chabad makes it so simple, so easy. And you can have streaks, by the way. You go on the Kol Chabad app, 12 days in a row. Boom, nice little badge. You've been giving very often. Download the app right now, pushka.cc/meaningful. Your tzedakah is going to an incredible place, Kol Chabad, which is helping feed the neediest in Eretz Yisrael. Go right now to pushka.cc/meaningful and download the Kol Chabad Pushka app today. So something else I want to discuss that you've been working on fixing is, as an Orthodox Jew living in New York. Mm-hmm. New York is the largest population of Jews outside of Israel. This is a place where a lot of us live, and we find our homes here and comfort in our shuls, our yeshivas, schools for our kids. We trust them to walk down the block safely. And there's been times where that's been, less safe, more safe. It swings. But I think that on October 7th, I think everyone would agree that changed life for a Jew in New York. What we've seen is just people taking to the streets and supporting the murder of our brothers and sisters on October 7th. I've been there personally, have gotten Free Palestine shouted at me in Penn Station and Times Square. And we've seen a lot worse over these last few years happen. And it's scary to see the city is going in that direction. And it's scary to see who you're up against, how that can get even worse. Just to start this conversation, though, I want to ask you, on October 7th, where were you? And what was going through your mind when you were hearing what was going on in Israel?
Right. No, it's extremely troubling. And I think that if you are a Jewish resident, you have a justifiable reason to be alarmed and concerned. And not only what's happening in New York, but what's happening across the globe.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism is on the rise. And the level of comfort of being anti-Semitic is what's more troubling to me. We have normalized anti-Semitism, and we have normalized hate. And I remember being briefed by my commissioner of counterintelligence, Commissioner Weiner, and I just didn't believe what I was hearing. Of just a well-coordinated and organized attack on innocent people and peaceful people. Many people don't know it was a very peaceful concert where those who were the organizers were talking about how can the groups live together.
Yeah.
And so to prey on them. And then many people didn't see the actual footage. Many people heard murders and they thought that it was just another military operation. But if you saw the footage, if you saw just the total disregard for human life, and the celebrations after the murders, it was chilling. And then when you saw, even when the exhibit was brought here to Lower Manhattan, and you saw a large number of people taken to the street celebrating the deaths that took place in Gaza and on October 7th. It was really troubling to us all. And so I must do my job. I can't control what happens across the globe, but I can control what happens in the city. And some of it is symbolic and others is substantive. The symbolism is doing what we were holding by raising the Israeli flag, making sure the parade continued, because there was a large number of people who wanted to stop the Israeli Day Parade from happening. And I said, no, we're not going to surrender to fear. And we had safe parades both years. But there's also substantive things that we have been doing, like our breaking bread, building bonds, 19,000 dinners, calling people to come to the table, all of different ethnic groups and backgrounds, and talking to each other, having a conversation, learning about Kwanzaa, Sukkah, Passover, Diwali, Ramadan, just showing our common ground. And we are all the same. We want to raise healthy children and families. And then calling on district attorneys to have a no plea bargaining rule for those who commit hate crimes. We should not be allowing them to plea bargain down their cases to a lesser crime. We should hold them accountable. I think that we must also look into our school system, particularly in our Ivy League schools. There's so much hate that's being taught. I think there's an anti-Semitic curriculum, the way they're teaching some of this information. And then we're producing young people who I feel are being radicalized. Social media should take a larger responsibility for what they're putting out on their platforms. I think it's adding to the radicalization of children, not only to hate Israel, Jewish population, but even to hate America. And I have been talking about this, and I will continue to lift my voice and advocate for it. And our Office to Combat Antisemitism was an important step forward, bringing our team on board and being clear on going after those with anti-Semitic actions. And, as you know, we signed the IRA agreement, which is a clear definition of anti-Semitism, because you can't fight what you don't define. And we want to continue to bring together a cross coalition of faith leaders from all communities in general, but specifically in the Jewish community, to fight against the anti-Semitism. We've witnessed a decrease in anti-Semitism in the first 2 quarters, I believe, of this year, but it's not down far enough, and we know we must do more.
Yeah, I think that even one case is too many, obviously.
Yes.
What Jewish New Yorkers seek more than anything is just peace of mind, that their kid could walk to school and they don't have to worry about something, that someone can go to work in the city with a yarmulke on their head and not feel like they need to take it off. And I know way too many friends that feel that at this point in 2025, they need to take off their yarmulkes. And I interview Holocaust survivors who lived through real persecution, who were killed because they were Jewish. And they never ever thought that we'd be back here in this world with such hate out there.
Yes. And I think that's an important observation, because I never thought we would be back here again as well. When I visited Rome and saw the Jewish quarters, and where Jews had to be off the streets and back in the ghetto, I should say, the Jewish ghetto, had to be back there before nightfall. When I went to Poland and visited the camps, the Nazi camps in Krakow and walked through and saw the shoes, the hair, the clothing, the gas chambers. When I look at the stories of even Spain and how the Jews had to leave Spain, when the information came down that they had to be out of the country. Who would have thought we would be back to the days where people would be marching in the streets, celebrating the death of innocent people? I find it troubling and problematic.
Yeah.
And that's why this election is so important, because we've come too far to go back, and there needs to be a clear moral voice on ending hate in general, but specifically the increase we're seeing in anti-Semitism.
Yeah. No, this election is very important. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But if you're hurt or find yourself in an accident, which, let's be real, it happens more than we like it, you need the right lawyer on your side. That's when you call the Rothenberg Law Firm. For over 55 years, they've been a cornerstone in our community, helping people just like you. They've won and collected billions of dollars for their clients. And the best part, if they don't win, you don't pay. When you choose Rothenberg, you're not just getting a lawyer, you're getting a trusted friend who treats you like family. They understand that a personal injury can turn your life upside down. So they go well beyond just legal representation. They will make sure your medical bills are paid by the appropriate parties and that your family is taken care of during this rough time. Everybody knows Rothenberg, so you know they're the name you can trust. So if you ever find yourself needing legal help, remember to head to injurylawyer.com or call them 1-800-624-8888 for a free case evaluation. Make sure to keep the Rothenberg Law Firm on speed dial, because not every injury lawyer has the resources to stand up to the big corporations and insurance companies. They've been fighting the good fight for over 5 decades, and they are not slowing down. I hope you never need them, but if you do, the Rothenberg family is there for you. This episode is sponsored by my friends at Lalechet. Yes, build your trip right now at lalechet.com. Don't want to be busy building your trip? No problem. You can go on one of their upcoming trips. Hong Kong, Morocco, Oman, you take your choice. They arrange these incredible trips with personalities like Rabbi Daniel Gladstein, Chani Gottlieb, Rabbi Nachman Seltzer. Yeah, go to Hong Kong with Rabbi Nachman Seltzer in November. Like, that would be a lot of fun. Or let's say you're a Gabi of a shul and you say, hey, I want to take my entire kahila and we're a shul in Deal and we want to go to, I don't know, Morocco, and go for it. Build your trip. Head to lalechet.com and they can take care of everything from A to Z. Trust them and you will go far. Lalechet.com, reach out to them today and you will not regret it. Have a safe trip. It's worth noting that I think it was your first appearance after October 7th. You gave a speech that is probably, will probably go down as one of the most legendary speeches of any New York mayor to give. Saying that we are not all right, that we stand with our brothers and sisters in Israel, that we are not all right, that we don't have to pretend we're all right.
Right.
And to be honest, we're still not all right.
Right.
Because there are 50 human beings that are still in underground tunnels as we sit down right now. And we know that maybe half of them are alive, maybe. And the videos we've seen of the ones who are just, it's shocking. It's shocking. So you said it 3 years ago, we're not all right. It was a video that was played all over the world by every single Jew and was really appreciated. You heard me just reference Mayor Adams' speech, right? About the ask about it. And you may be wondering, oh, what did he say? Well, I'm going to play for you the entire speech right now. It is a 3.5-4 minute speech. This is it. This was absolutely epic.
I am not going to be long. I'm going to give you 4 words. This morning on my briefing, my special counsel, Lisa Zomberg, said something that I want us all to acknowledge. We've been through some tough time, New Yorkers. We are tough people. We saw the center of our trade collapse. We saw some of the horrific actions that played out on the stage of our city and our country. But she said something that hits me to my soul. She stated to our team, we are not all right. We are not all right when we see young girls pulled from their home and dragged through the streets. We are not all right when we see grandmothers being pulled away from their homes and children shot in front of their families. We are not all right when right here in the city of New York, you had those who celebrate at the same time when the devastation is taking place in our city. We are not all right when Hamas believes that they are fighting on behalf of something in their destructive, despicable action that carried out. We are not all right when we still have hostages who have not come home to their family. We are not all right. And we're not going to say we have a stiff upper lip and act like everything is fine. Everything is not fine. Israel has a right to defend himself, and that's the right that we know. Your fight is our fight. Your fight is our fight. And right here in New York, we have the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. This is the place that our voices must raise and cascade throughout the entire country. We will not be all right until every person responsible for this act is held accountable. And we don't have to pretend. And I want to thank my religious leaders throughout this city of all religious groups who reached out to us and clearly stated that they denounce the hatred and the anti-Semitism that was displayed on one of the holiest days of the year. This was intentional, this was bitter, this was nasty, this was something that shows Hamas must be disbanded and destroyed immediately. And so I say to you, I'm not here because I'm your mayor. I've been in Israel as a state senator. I protected the community of this city in general, but specifically the Jewish community as a police officer. I stood with you as borough president. And now I'm here today to say not only am I the chief executive of this city, but I'm your brother. I'm your brother. Your fight is my fight. That swastika not only displays the pain of anti-Semitism, it displays the pain of racism among African Americans. You marched with us with Dr. King. You stood with us with all the fights we have. And I'm saying we're going to stand with you and stay united together. And we don't have to be all right. We should be angry at what we saw. Thank you, Israel.
Was that a speech that was prepared going into it, or is that just came from the heart in the moment?
No, it wasn't prepared. I heard my counsel at the time on my briefing calls. She said those words, that as a Jewish person, we're not all right. And that's just turned into the feeling that I had because, we're in a country that we have experienced a lot of devastating acts of terrorism, September 11th. And we had to get up on September 12th and pretend as though the towers were still standing. And so I wanted the Jewish people of the city and the globe to don't pretend like you're all right. We're not all right. And I was very clear, and I thought that clarity was needed. I was very clear Hamas needed to be destroyed and every hostage should return home. That is the starting place. And those simple words, we are not all right. I think it was a moment where Jewish residents acknowledged that, we're not, and I'm not going to act like I'm all right. And one of the most powerful moments for me was when I got a call from one of my deputy mayors at the time. And he told me there was a woman on the phone that was crying and she just asked, could she speak with me? And I told her, of course, and I spoke with her. And she stated that her son was in Israel getting ready to go into the war. And her son said that they played that speech to all the troops as they prepared for battle. And he called his mom, and said, please call the mayor and tell him, thank you, thank you. And so words matter. Sometimes we don't believe they do, but they do. Words matter. Words can harm us, or they can motivate us, or they can give us a clear vision and a clear thought. And that's what I was hoping. So it was not a prepared text.
Yeah.
It was a text that I felt was needed to be said. I wanted to talk about the history of the Jewish people and their relationship with all struggling people in general, but specifically with the African American experience. And I wanted to share a part of that as I told them that we stand side by side with the people.
Yeah. It must have been pretty amazing to get that phone call.
Yes, it was. When you get ready to go into battle, not knowing if you were going to return or not, and you call your mom and say, tell the mayor, thank you. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is. What would you say to Jewish residents of New York that, it's almost like the knee-jerk response of Jews for decades and centuries to try to just hide, not necessarily literally, but to just stay out of the way, to stay out of the limelight. This is just, we don't want to get anyone's way. We don't want to cause any attention. And I personally feel like the beauty of New York is that it's the Jews are here as well.
Right.
It's not the black eye of New York.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting with the mayor, and I want the Jews who live in New York to understand a message of, I guess, their value in this city and what the mayor of New York thinks about them being here.
That's a great question, because you're right. The Jewish community believes keep your head down, educate your children, open your business, stay true to your faith, and just hope that everything's going to be all right. I don't believe that. And I believe the younger Jewish population must take a lesson from history and mobilize and send a very strong message that you're not going to live in fear. And there are three things I believe they can do. One, take control of social media, get their voices out there. A lot of influencers are doing that. I'm really pleased to see very forthright and clear communication on social media. I believe the young Jewish attorneys should mobilize to sue social media to really stop some of this harmful messaging that's taking place. I think they could use their legal skills to do that, just as Jews of yesteryears use their legal skills to help those who are in need. The second thing is that I think that the Jewish community should reach out to their friends and associates. Just about every successful Jewish person I know has an ally of a successful person outside the Jewish community. I think of Jay-Z and Bruce Radner. Bruce Radner was the owner of the Nets at one time, or Barclays Center. He brought in Jay-Z. They have a great relationship. He should ask Jay-Z to join his battle with him. Floyd Mayweather has been extremely vociferous around antisemitism, Mike Tyson, so many others. And so I think it's important for the young Jewish population and older Jewish population to reach out to their colleagues outside the Jewish community and say, we need your voice right now. Because if this was happening to the African American community, where people are protesting and using these terminologies of hate, we would reach out to our Jewish brothers and sisters and say, we need you to stand tall with us and fight this fight.
Absolutely.
And third, I think it's imperative that we start building our coalitions. Like, I know Michael Miller. I know the popular Rabbi Pentos and others. But do our children know each other? My son needs to know his generation. We thought that the relationship that Dr. King had with his Jewish brothers and sisters would continue to travel to my generation, which it has. But then we stopped being clear about, hey, Jordan, you need to know of your Jewish brothers and sisters so that we can build a strong relationship. The new generation must know each other and fight to end hatred and anti-Semitism.
Right. And that's top of mind, obviously, for everybody going into the selection, because you're up against somebody who I don't think anybody would have thought could potentially even be mayor of this city. Like we said in the outset, that there's the largest Jewish population outside of Israel lives here. And you're up against somebody who all but praised Hamas's attacks.
Yes.
He justified them by resistance. He refused to condemn the term intifada, globalized intifada.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost unbelievable. I was texting somebody who I think you know, Haskell Bennett.
Yes.
I was texting with him before I came here, and I asked him, and he's a straight shooter. He says it's on his mind. I said, "Are you nervous? You know, if potentially Zoran Mamdani is the mayor?" He said, "How could you not? Of course." And that's a feeling that all Jews and all, honestly, residents could feel in New York. How did we get here?
No, that's a great question. And I'm nervous. And we're all nervous for different reasons. I'm nervous on the impact of the Jewish population, but I'm also nervous on his policies. I'm nervous around defunding the police department, and making poor decisions around public safety that will impact New Yorkers. Telling police officers not to respond to domestic violence issues is a real problem. That's one of the number one causes of injuries to police officers. And I don't want a civilian put in that position. But also I'm nervous about not setting the right tone, to not be willing to denounce that term, globalized intifada. It's just the wrong thing to do. And to be participating in some of the marches that we witnessed on our streets after the October 7th attacks is just not the right message. And even saying you will arrest Netanyahu upon his arrival. You don't have to agree with the politics of Netanyahu, but to state you're going to arrest a leader of a country is just not the type of rhetoric we should be using. And so I agree, we are concerned, and we must turn that concern into activism. And we must get out, register to vote, make sure we know where our polling sites are, make sure our family is registered, make sure those who are within our peer groups are registered. People can't throw up their hands and say, woe is me. They need to say, why not me? Every vote is going to matter. I need to make sure they go out and participate in the process.
Yeah.
Quick word for my friends at Town Appliance. Some of you have messaged me. Yeah, you, Ari, I know you messaged me. You're like, I was dreaming about a Weber grill because your ad read last week. Well, let me tell you something. That wasn't an ad read. That's a way of life. I actually sometimes dream of Weber grills, but not just any Weber grill, a Weber grill that I get on townappliance.com, because that's the place you get at the best price. You know, summer savings are beginning. The grill season is kicking off, and you want to make sure you are covered. Yeah, that grill that's been sitting in your backyard since 2007. The food that you're making isn't bad. I think it's the grill. You're Jewish. You're a chef. You know how to smoke meat. You live in Tom's River. Of course you know how to smoke meat. Well, maybe it's the grill. Blame the equipment. So go to townappliance.com. Get the perfect equipment that you need, whether it's inside your kitchen, whether you're doing a new construction, or you're just trying to get a new outdoor situation. Maybe some furniture, maybe a grill, maybe some kitchen appliances. The food ain't bad. The grill is. Get a new one. Townappliance.com. We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word, my friends, at NRS Pay. You know, if you own a business, you understand that most people are paying with credit card nowadays. And the one thing as a business owner that you don't want to deal with are those hidden fees. You know, shady stuff goes on in this industry, and you don't want any part of that. No hidden fees, no long-term contracts, no early termination fees. Work with NRS Pay. I personally know them. They are an honest, reputable company in this industry. Whether you choose their clean rate or cash discount plan, they will take care of you. No shenanigans, no hidden fees, no long-term contracts. You don't have to worry about that stuff when you're working with NRS Pay. So right now, head to their website, nrspay.com. That is nrspay.com. Hit the link in the show notes below. Oh, also, you need cash for your business, whether it's $2,500 or $500,000, NRS funding can help you with that. It all starts by going to nrspay.com. That is nrspay.com.
Listen, it's our hope that you are the next mayor, right? That is our hope. But if that is not the case, and Mr. Mamdani is, would you go as far as to say that maybe some Jews should think about leaving New York?
No, I would never tell Jewish residents to leave New York, and I've heard comments of that. That people said, if he's elected, we're going to leave the city, and we would never run from hate. We can't, because if you run from hate, you're going to run out of places to run from, and particularly the Jewish community. Having to leave Spain, having to leave Germany, having to leave so many places on the globe from the days of Moses,
Yeah.
Being in a perpetual state of having to leave. This is the generation where I believe you are saying we're running no more. And I am really impressed when I'm around young Jewish people who are really saying, no, we're going to fight. We're not going to be known as the generation that ran. We're going to be known as a generation that fought. No more fleeing, no more mass exodus, no more leaving out of fear. We're going to fight. And that fight starts not reactively, but proactively. The biggest fight we can do now, register, go to the polling place, or do your mail-in ballot and participate in the election.
100%. One more point I want to make. I think that scarier than the prospect that he could be the next mayor is the fact that he has so much support and where that's coming from.
Yes. And it is so important that we analyze this thing called support.
Yeah.
Because only 9 to 10% of voters voted. 90% have yet to speak. And because he won the Democratic primary, which is often known as the leftist part of the voting population or the Democratic pool, we should not overrate that support. We now have, out of the 1,000,001, 1,000,002 Democrats that voted, you have 2.5 million that have yet to vote, Democrats.
Wow.
You have another 1,000,000 independents that have yet to vote, and 900,000 Republicans that have yet to vote. So the majority of the voting population have yet to speak. And even his belief that he has captured all the young people in the city, that is not accurate. There's a large number of young people who have yet to vote. That's what we must spend the next 2 months in accomplishing. How do we let them see how the direction of the city and where we're moving is the right direction? We have more jobs in the city's history. We have placed $30 billion with a B back in the pockets of working class people. Everything from excusing medical debt, reduced the fare of metro cars, paying off college tuition for our foster care children, and even looking at student loan debt repayment, restructuring loans. People who have student loans are going to save $3,000 a year, and if you have a secondary education, you're going to save $7,000 a year. All of these things that we're doing to, number one, make the city affordable, and number two, to make it safe.
Yeah.
When you take 23,000 illegal guns off the streets of New York and driving down crime in all the major categories, our subway system is the safest it has been when you take out the 2 years of COVID when no one was on them. And so it's a combination of what we are doing. We're moving in the right direction, and we need to continue that. We've gone too far, and we've come too far to go backwards.
Yeah.
And the wrong mayor would take us backwards in so many of these levels.
Yeah. Well, we hope that doesn't happen. Last thing,
Yes.
You are someone who many of us have seen pictures and videos of you going to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's resting site in Queens.
Mhm.
People don't know why. So what drives you? What draws you to that place?
I think spirituality is spirituality. And I think all of us have one God. And all of the methods we use to reach that spiritual state are just the vehicles, And so, if you had a destination, and you could use many vehicles to get to that destination, but we all want the destination. We all want to have this spiritual connection with God. And so I'm a Christian, and I go to a Christian church. That's another vehicle. That's a Cadillac. If I go to use Judaism, that may be another fancy vehicle. These are all vehicles.
Yeah.
And I've learned that if I want to reach spirituality, I'm going to use whatever vehicle that my knower knows that I should use at the time. The Grand Rebbe, his grave site is a very spiritual place. And when I was running for office, I was down in the polls to Andrew Yang. And Devorah Haberstein, a good friend of mine who lost her son, Ari, on the Brooklyn Bridge, she called me one night and said that the Rebbe came to her in her dreams and said that I should come to the gravesite. And I did. I traveled to the gravesite, and the poll numbers started decreasing on what I was behind. And I've always stayed true to going to visit the Grand Rebbe. And again, I'm an extremely spiritual person.
That's amazing. I actually interviewed Devorah a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
We put it on YouTube.
Great story.
Yeah. Fascinating. And listen, her son's memory should always live on through this city.
Yes.
Mayor Adams, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining me.
Great to be here with you.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Make sure to leave a comment down below if you watched on YouTube. Please, please, please leave a comment down below. Hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you're watching on Apple, Spotify, leave a review, leave a rating. Big thank you to Monty Berkowitz, who filmed this podcast over there in Gracie Mansion with us. Big shout out to my friends at Bloom's for sponsoring the food that we always have in our office. Keeping it nice, fresh, and tidy. Bloom's, the best kosher products in every single supermarket. And you know that's the truth. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining. We have more episodes coming your way, but the conversations don't just end here. All the conversations have more to it on Meaningful Minute Plus. 2 Cents Podcast, exclusive. Off the Record, a new show that I host where I go off the record with a lot of the guests that you see on here, Meaningful People. We have some behind the scenes conversations that only our Plus members will hear. Not only do you get access to exclusive content, but you become someone who supports and funds the work that Meaningful Minute does. Millions of people every single month are reached by the content we create. Meaningful People, Stories of Hope, our Instagram, our minutes. Everything is possible by our donors, our sponsors, and our Plus members. So become a Plus member right now. Head to mmplus.org. $15 a month if you're choosing the annual option. Go ahead right now, become a member today. Live streams throughout every single week. Exclusive episodes. You can chat directly on the app with your favorite creators. There is no better time, no better reason than to become a Plus member right now. If you need a discount in order to afford this membership, email us right now at plus@meaningfulminute.org. That is plus@meaningfulminute.org.